Hello everyone. Granted, 2 days after that heavy storm we had, or was it a day after? Well, anyways, yeah, it's only a day after, give or take. Going around, checking the crops, seeing if we had any damage here in Indiana. Not really. No damage to speak of. Crops look fine. So, yeah. And so I haven't been posting very much. Been really busy with a whole bunch of stuff, trying to lay tile. But, yeah. Crop looks fine. No damage. No nothing. Got really good ears on a lot of this corn. A lot of it's double earing. Most of it looks like it's pollinated within 1/2 to 1 inch of the tip. So that's good. I mean, we've had good rains. We've been moderately dry here, but the last several rains we've had, the ground isn't mud, but it is damp. Okay, well, that's... As you can see, I left my boot prints in. A mile to the north, got a field that we're going to be tiling out, and yet that's not mud. It's amazing what Indiana can do. Indiana weather, there's a saying, you don't like the weather in Indiana, wait 5 minutes. There's a lot more truth to that than you think. So, all in all, crops look good. Nice height on the corn. Good size ears. Now, as you can tell, I'm a decent height individual. That corn is easily 10 foot, 10.5 foot. That's probably looking for me. But it's good size stalks, good size ears. No damage to speak of. Soybeans look good. So all in all, everything's looking fine. I got one field to the south. We had an accident on it during the spring. Surprisingly enough, it may have been a blessing in disguise. It's got double and triple, and found one with 4 ears on a single stalk. That's something to say. Now, when I'm talking 4 ears, okay, here's an ear, here's an ear, double-eared. In that particular field, double, triple, and so far 1 4-ear stalk. Like I said, a lot of this corn is double earing. So that tells me everything's looking to be above par. Now on the outside row, you can expect a lot of doubles because there's nothing on this outside. and all the nutrients go into the first row. Now granted, these look spindly, is because, well, here's a driveway. So in turn, every so often we have equipment parked next to the trees here, and we gotta go around. So right here it's compacted. So that's one little spot. As you can tell, down there looks good, and down there looks good. Just this little spot. Nothing major. But then again, there's a lot of spots where water washes because, well, it's a driveway. Water's going to wash. What are you going to do about it? Not much. But looking on the inside of this corn, a handful, quite a few doubles, a lot of good, decent sized ears that are about the size of my forearm, which is good. So all this is looking real nice. It's got good dark color. The color of this corn is actually darker than the grass. So that's a big boom. That tells me it's got all the nutrients it needs. It's got all the water it needs. It's not hot, but it's not cold either. This is ideal growing conditions. I hate deer damage. You want to know what deers do? That. Yeah. Right on through there. Deers around here are noxious animals. And with it, there's a highway. So, yeah. I mean, when I said these ears are about the size of my forearm, I ain't joking. The good size ears is a better example of one. That is the size of my forearm. But now, you want a good example of what happens when you have compaction and it's right up against the driveway. And I mean, literally, the drive. This is where we normally start with the planter in this particular field. Now, another example when I say triple ear. 1, 2, 3. All in one ear. All in one stalk. You got 1. You have 2. And you have 3. Now the field to the south, it's got a lot of these and a lot of these. It's pretty much like that all the way through. A lot of triples, a lot of doubles, well, more doubles than triples. And the doubles look like, one, if I had to guess, maybe 800 kernels on it, and another one maybe somewhere between 400 and 600. That's anywhere between 12 and 1400 kernels per stalk. Doing the math on that, that turns out to be anywhere from 240 to 255 bushels the acre. That's a lot of good corn. And that's doing the math on a final stand of 21,000. We normally aim for about 30 to 32,000. So granted, it's anywhere between 8 and 9 and 11,000 short. But yet, the ears compensated for the extra nutrients and everything else. So it's... Did we lose yield? No. Did we gain yield? Not sure yet. Because that field normally only averages about 150, 160. So yes, we did gain. So this is presenting me with a thought. Is the population on the ground the heaviest and thickest and the worst Indiana clay you can possibly imagine? Now there's only about 1,400 acres of this in all of Indiana. And me and my dad farm nearly 800 of it. Yeah, so we're smack dab in the center of it. But we managed to get good yield. Guys from the prairies think, oh, soil, it's going to be all the same. No, it ain't. The guys who can produce this type of corn on this soil at these yields know how to maintain the ground, know how to make a good yield, and survive. You bring the guys off the prairie down here, nope, they done. They can't wait to get off this ground. Because I've even heard out of the mouth of one guy up at the prairie that I know. He said, how the devil do you guys make any crops on this ground? I make 4, 5 to 10 mistakes up there. I come out with a good yield. I come down here, make one that looks like I can't farm. It's what we're used to. What they farm and what we farm are two totally different animals. If you were to set us loose up on that prairie, boys, we'll be shelling 300 bushels a year, every year. Now the question is, are they doing it right or are we? There's no good answer. There's no right or wrong answer. What we do is no-till cover crops. Now granted, you can't see a cover crop. But out here, where it's compacted, you kinda can. Because in there, the microbes, earthworms, and bacteria have already broken down that cover crop. And for example, how much of the old roots do you see down in here? Hardly any. Granted, I can reach in and find this, but it looks like it's bare dirt in there. It's because the soil microbes down here are alive. The soil is no different from this plant. You gotta feed that soil in order to feed that plant. So if you can't feed that, there's no need for you to feed that. But if you can feed both and make that more productive and this more productive, why aren't you doing it? No-till cover crops. The cover crops we sow are brassicas, grasses, and legumes. These feed the soil. Brassicas, well, they got a really deep taproot. That taproot is as long as the plant is tall. Legumes produce nitrogen. Well, guess what? Microorganisms in the soil love nitrogen. Grasses, well, they have a wide root mass. And those brassicas, well, guess what? They go to China. You put all three of those together, guess what? How deep do you want that nitrogen? How wide do you want it to spread? Because I can guarantee you, you put all three of those in the same field, you're feeding everything. And we plant a lot of cereal rye. We have found cereal rye is a natural enemy to mare's tail, a very notorious plant, weed, that is extremely hard to kill, and yet cereal rye just looks at it and goes, "Why are you here?" and knocks it out. Simple as that. We have found that over and over and over again. So do we plant it? Yes. It's a natural herbicide against mare's tail. Why wouldn't you plant it? You got mare's tail as far as the eyes can see. One season of cereal rye will slow it down. Now, is it a one-year fix? Absolutely not. No. It is a continuous thing. If you don't use it continuously, guess what? That mare's tail is going to come back as strong as it did the day you planted that cereal rye. So you got to continuously use it to the point where that mare's tail seed is almost extinct. Because cereal rye produces some sort of pathogen that mare's tail can't handle. And it just knocks it out. Granted, cereal rye and the other cover crops are a sacrificial lamb to feed these guys. So, now you see why cover croppers do so well. That is a thick plant. That stalk is fairly thick. This one's fairly thick. This one's a little on the thin side, but we come down here. Where did I see it? Where did I see it? There's one that's up right here. That's a girthy boy. Now you go further in, they get thicker. They get about yay big in diameter. That's almost 1.5 inches. This is 1 inch. And if they get thicker on the inside, good size stalk. Stalk standability and everything is key. But when you couple it with the cover crops, the brassicas, the legumes, well, guess what? When you kill that cover crop, those roots and the microbiology down in the soil, earthworms and such, well, guess what? You got tunnels. Where do you think these roots of this corn is going? It's not going to go through a solid piece of dirt. No, it's going to follow those holes. Meaning, those roots are probably anchored half the height of this corn. So, let's say 10 feet. So, if the brassicas are 3, guess what? You got 3 foot deep roots. I don't care what tillage equipment you have, the only way you're going to go that deep is with a tile plow. You're not going to put a tile plow every 8 inches just to get that soil to do what that brassica did. It's cost prohibitive. You waste fuel to where you come in with a plant that does the exact same thing for $8 or less, depending on seeding rate. Our seeding rate's lower on the end, so it comes out to about 25 cents. Is that right? 25 cents on that one? Well, in a grand total, it's about $11 the acre for the whole cover crop package. And once you do that, well, guess what? Now, is it a one-year fix? Absolutely not. We've been doing this for 15 years. 15 years. we've raised the organic matter in this particular field, and all the others, minus the ones I picked up myself from CMT Farms, which is my farm. My dad's is another farm, so we work together. But the organic matter has increased 1.5%. Mother Nature takes 50 to 60 years to do that. 15 years, 50 to 60. That's fast. That is really fast. When it takes Mother Nature so long to do it, and yet we've helped Mother Nature along. Are we fighting Mother Nature to increase the productivity of this soil? No. If anything, we're going, hey, let's give you a hand. Make everything better. It does. On top of that, the cover crops help with erosion. I've seen guys with gullies that go down to your knees, and it is sickening to me. Now, granted, do we have erosion? Yes. Is it an all-round solution? Cover crops? No. But the way we figure it, we prevent slow erosion down anywhere from 65 to 75%. That's a lot. So keeping that soil where it is and not letting it go down a gully. Yes, we put in waterways because that's where the worst erosion is, so we gotta put in a waterway. Put in a waterway, guess what? That erosion, that soil comes back. Granted, you gotta keep that waterway in check, so on and so forth. But in the long run, this is a livelihood. Cover crops, no-till, granted. I mean, look at this. Look at all the insects that have been fluttering around me in this video already. I even got a butterfly coming around. I see insects. I've seen plenty of praying mantises out here, which is a natural enemy to the things that want to eat this corn. And those praying mantises will eat them. If I had my choice, I'd let 1,000 praying mantises out in this field and let them reproduce and let them have their way here. Ladybugs, well, they do the same thing. And look at this. More insects. Right there. A little pollinator. Now, the ones that you can't see, well, okay. They're around. You got insects that are helping this plant on the top and on the bottom. Praying mantises will eat predatory insects that would harm this crop. So why not let them have it? We don't use insecticides. This is all conventional corn. Not triple stack or VT, nothing. This is non-GMO corn. And we have found it yields as good or better than Roundup, well, not as triple stacked or VT corn or double stacked. So instead of using a whole bunch of insecticides and stuff, we let it, Mother Nature, send its helpers out and do their business. And look at that corn. It looks beautiful. Granted, the first row is not the prettiest, but I don't care what farmer you are, where you're from, the first row is never going to look good. Bar none, it will never look good unless you chop off that very first row. But even with these spindly ones, we have a crop. So yes, we're going to keep those. Sometimes it don't work out. Sometimes there's fields that, oh my God, we got to drop the planet back in and go at it again. Has that happened to us? Yes, very much so. As a matter of fact, this is one of those fields where we had to drop the planet back in. And it looks magnificent now. But there was those 3 days, I think it was in March. No, it wasn't in March. April, May. It was in May. May 11th, 12th, and 13th. It didn't matter where you were in the United States. Didn't matter what crop you had. If you planted those days, you were replanting. And surprisingly enough, it was all over the United States. So, we asked my grandmother, what's going on here? What happened on these 3 days? Go to find out. Looking at the almanac, the Farmer's Almanac, those 3 days were the sign of death. Well, that explains everything. Now we're going to be looking at those saying transplant, plantable, all that, or good planting. Look for those. If it's fallow, we're going to be cautious. If it's death, we're not even doing anything. We're not even going to bring the planter out, or bring the sprayer out, but not the planter. Now if it's kill weeds, but yet that's all of it says, kill weeds, well, absolutely, we're bringing out the sprayer. And if that's the only thing, well then yes, we're going to bring out the planter. But kill weeds? Oh, absolutely. So in turn, we're going to be adjusting our practice a bit to accommodate for the weather, the almanac, and the soil. We don't plant in mud like some of these big operators. No wonder why the crops look poor. But we can't say anything because we've had issues, so when seeing that, but we try to plant in absolutely dry. But if you plant in mud, you got concrete around here. Guys up on the prairie, they can get away with mud. We can't. We plant in this, it'll turn to absolute concrete. It will be worse than this driveway. So in turn, we have to watch ourselves. When guys go 3-4 days ahead of us, we're still waiting for the ground to dry out. So you gotta take into context, is every single soil type identical? Absolutely not. This is the roughest and hardest clay in Indiana. But yet we make it work, and our yields are beginning to prove it. The crop proves it. Now across the highway you'll see a field. We found that too. Right over there past those trees, and across that ditch, and across the fence line. We found those. Over there is 166 acres. CMT Farms right here. The biggest field we have. Granted, it was my uncle's. He did a magnificent job putting all those together. Absolutely magnificent. You can't tell where trees were and everything else. They're gone. Granted, he was full conventional tillage. Plows, chisel plows, cultivators, discs. Oh, it just made me weep. But he was beginning to think that we were doing something that he couldn't, because even after 3 inches of rain in 2009, he couldn't run at all. And yet here we were, running. The only thing you were finding was the cleats of the combine. That was it. So this proves dividends to what we're doing. So with that being said, this brings out a new, hopefully this brings out a new light for you to see. Now, another thing of compaction. When you drive over the same spot over and over and over again, and you don't get a proper cover crop on it, well, you get a dead spot. Yeah, this is why I come in with the sprayer every single year. Pretty sad. But, yeah. It happens. So with that, I hope this brings you some enlightenment. As soon as I get it right. Well, that's it. Welcome to farming.